Massive earthquake devastates Turkey and Syria. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. More than 3,800 people have been killed and thousands injured after a powerful magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck Turkey and Syria, leaving the countries devastated. And this earthquake is regarded as one of the strongest in more than 100 years. A similar earthquake like this had hit Haiti in 2010, resulting in about 220,000 people dying. After entering guilty plea to their involvement in a fraudulent lottery scam that preyed on elderly victims in the United States, two Jamaicans were each given more than 5 years in federal prison last week. Roger Lawson, who is 24 years old, and his mother, Theresa Lawson, 53 years old, were sentenced to 78 months in prison last Thursday, with the possibility of an additional 3 years of court-ordered supervision if they are not deported after their release. They were also required to make restitution payments of $405,000. They or their co-conspirators contacted elderly victims as part of the plan and falsely informed them that they had won a sweepstake according to evidence presented in the United States District Court in Charleston, South Carolina. The Lawsons is said to have received more than $700,000 US from the victims, which was then wired to other persons in Jamaica. There were at least 175 victims under this scheme. The oldest victim was 96 years old, and I can tell you that only a fool could let these fool people fool them. Have you ever listened to some of these phone calls? Not one of these scammers sound intelligent. All of them are idiots. So you have to be greedy and gullible to let them fool you. A man was shot by a police officer who tried to part a fight between a cab driver and another driver on Sunday. And according to reports, the two drivers were involved in a collision at the intersection of Mountain View Avenue and Windward Road in East Kingston at around 10:30 a.m. And it is said that the officer was coming from church, seeing the fight, then identified himself as a police officer. But one of the fighters attacked the policeman. The policeman then shot him. He is said to have died at hospital. And the incident is now being investigated by the police and the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM. Meanwhile, charges against the police officers involved in the alleged robbery and rape of a female driver in St. Elizabeth last week will now be decided by the Director of Public Prosecutions. The four St. Elizabeth Police Division affiliated officers were taken into custody last week after a female driver claimed that she had been threatened, robbed, and sexually assaulted by the officers after a traffic check on Monday night. And according to reports, the police team stopped the 26-year-old woman while they were conducting a checkpoint operation along Crawford's main road at about 10 p.m. She is said to be driving a car which had a demonstration license plate. She reportedly offered the police $7,000 she had on her, but they demanded $50,000 to drop the charges. She was then driven to an ATM but was unsuccessful in getting any money. So they drove her to a supermarket, took her behind a building where she was sexually assaulted. Meanwhile, following an incident in which a student attacked the dean of discipline, teachers at the Norman Manley High School are reportedly uneasy. On social media, a video of the incident has now gone viral, and it is believed that the male teacher made an effort to deal with a female student who was in violation of the dress code at the school. And according to reports, the student became rowdy and attacked the teacher. The teacher then responded and the two got into a physical fight. Then two other students saw what was happening. They then jumped in and attacked the teacher. Apparently, they ended up beating up the teacher. After his guilty verdict on Friday on a lesser charge of manslaughter for the 2019 death of his wife, Andre McDonald, a Jamaican-born U.S. Air Force major, was sentenced to the maximum 20 years in prison yesterday, and the sentence was read by presiding judge Frank Castro. McDonald, who is 40 years old, is the son of Portland businessman Everton Beachy Stout McDonald, who is also accused of murdering both his wives in Jamaica. He is allegedly said to have killed the first wife, then got married again, killed the second one as well. Beachy Stout is currently in custody and is scheduled to stand trial in September for the murder of his second wife. Meanwhile, one of three men who were listed as wanted by the Kingston Western Police turned himself in at the Denham Town Station on Monday. He's Donovan Rowe, otherwise called Chummy. Rowe was wanted for the murder of two men, which occurred on Tuesday, November 29 last year on Upper Oxford Street in Kingston at about 9:40 a.m. The police said that the other two wanted men, Jomo Barrett and Anthony Clark, otherwise called Deli, are still at large and they are now being asked to turn themselves in as well. The police continued to take guns off the street. A man was arrested following the siege of a pistol on the Ramble Main Road in Hanover on Sunday. Reports from the Ramble police are that about 1 a.m., lawmen were conducting a vehicular checkpoint operation in the area when the driver of a motorcycle was signaled to stop. He was then accosted, searched, and a weapon, a .45 Ruger pistol, was found in his possession, and he was subsequently arrested for illegal possession of firearm and ammunition. On to sports, we have cricket. For a change, I have good news as Craig Brathwaite and Tignerine Chandapal set a new West Indies record of 336 for the first wicket yesterday as the Caribbean side reached 374 for 2 by lunch on day 3 of the first test against Zimbabwe. This stand surpassed the 298 runs partnership which was shared by Gordon Greenidge and Desmond Haynes against England in Antigua 33 years ago. That's a long time. And it is the 9th highest opening partnership in Test history, a long way short of the overall record of 415 added by South Africa's Graham Smith and Neil Mackenzie against Bangladesh in Chattogram in 2008. The West Indies then went on to declare for 447 for 6 declared, with Brathwaite LBW for 182 and Chandabal 207 not out. Zimbabwe into bat last night ended at 114 for 3, and this morning at news time they were 240 for 7. On to football Premier League games on Sunday. Red Hot Trevante Stewart scored his second hat-trick of the season as Mount Pleasant Academy increased their lead at the top of the Jamaica Premier League after beating Dunbeholdle 3-0 at Draxall St. Anne on Sunday. And the win boosted the St. Anne team's tally to 30 points, which is 4 more than second place Cavalier. They were held 0-0 by Montego Bay United in their first game of the doubleheader at the Jamaica College Ashenheim Stadium. Arnott Gardens meanwhile came from behind to beat Tivoli Gardens 2-1 and stayed in third place on 24 points, while Humble Lions and Waterhouse drew 0-0 and Veer United edged Harborview 1-0. Last night's game saw Falkland beating Chapelton 1-0, while Portmore and Malines United played to a 1-1 draw. And if you missed the news on this radio station, please go to YouTube and type in Jamaican Undiluted News. Listen, like, share, and please subscribe to keep it going. My name is Mikey Bones. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I gone.